So, to summarise, Crowley was the self-proclaimed prophet of the new Ion of Horus, or perhaps it is more accurate to say that Iwas decreed this position on Crowley. Not long after this, Crowley founded the OTO, or Ordo Templi Orientis, Order of the Temple of the East. In Crowley's own words, the work of the OTO is geared towards the achievement of a global spanning empire. Iwas stated in the Book of the Law that his servants shall be few and secret, and they shall reign over the many, and of course his number is 11, as all those who are of us. Most important of all is this quote from Iwas: "Hail ye twin warriors about the pillars of the world, for your time is nigh at hand." And let's not forget paste the sheets from right to left and top to bottom, then behold. Because of course by following these instructions on the dollar bill we see the merging of the eagle, originally a phoenix, and the pyramid, symbolising the new Ion of Horus, and on the 5, 10, 20, $50 bills, the sequential destruction of the twin towers, twin pillars of the world. We know the dollar is a talisman using energy to achieve the desired spell, and on 9/11 this spell unfortunately was successful. As to how such an insidious spell is cast on humanity, I'll delve into it when the bulk of the ritual has been outlined, but for now just know that it is for the same reason that the destruction of the towers has been shown pre-9/11 in Hollywood movies and comic books, and it is the same reason for the creation and the introduction into the public arena of the Wingding sigil, and let's not forget the numerous 9/11 pre-shadowing in all the types of media and music that we'll examine later on. At 5:20 PM, and 5:02 is 7, World Trade Center 7 collapsed, making 77 the number of Pan or Oz. No plane hit the building, and the collapse of buildings 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and finally 7 were the falling of the 7 vows of Isis, or Pan, as can be seen on the cube, Metatron's cube, and the Tree of Life. The 7th building was the Salomon Brothers building, and Salomon is of course Solomon, whose seal is symbolic of the 7th planet before higher consciousness, which is Saturn, whose symbol is the black cube that is of course interchangeable with the sphere between the twin towers, which is the middle pillar of polarity, bringing us back to the seal of Solomon again. This process is the rising of the Kundalini serpent up the spine, activating the 7 chakras as it moves through the 33 vertebrae and opens the third eye. Now, both the north and the south towers had 110 floors, so 1111 numerologically, while building 7 had 47 floors, 4 had 7 is 11, giving us 11, 11, 11, which is 33, number of death, rebirth, illumination. It can also be said that 47 resonates with 7/4. Perhaps that's why they tell us that building 7 collapsed when the 13th floor buckled. Whatever way you look at it, 11, 33, 13, 7 are all different invocations of the same spot on the Tree of Life, the Mystery Sephirah. Perhaps the most profound occurrence of the ritual centered around the Pentagon. At 9:37, which encodes 93, American Airlines Flight 77, Pan, supposedly crashed into the Pentagon. There were 58 passengers and 6 crew, so 64 in all, and a further 125 on the ground, making 189 fatalities in all. What is interesting about the Pentagon is that the ground was first broken for its construction on September 11th, 1941, and 60 years later, on September 11th, it becomes the target. Flight 77 is the first occurrence of 7/7 related phenomena surrounding the Pentagon, or more accurately the second, since the Pentagon lies on the 77th parallel, meaning that once again 2 mirrored numbers come together and mirror one another, that being 77 and 77. And let's not forget that September 11th is actually the 7th month on the Roman calendar, so in that sense it was 7/11, and 7/11 is 77, so that gives us 77, 77 and 77, which is strange to say the very least. So we know 77 is the number of Pan, or Oz, and we know that Pan is this higher leaping consciousness, so to speak, but let's remind ourselves of what Pan meant to Aleister Crowley. He had P, meaning two pillars, A is the pentagram energy, and N is death. Pan, of course, symbolises the all. The symbol of the pentagram has been used for many a different purpose throughout history and can indicate many a different thing. While I don't wish to spend too much time discussing all the different interpretations and the traditions surrounding the pentagram, what is important is that each point represents an element: air, water, earth, fire. Governing all of these forces is spirit at the very top, and the pentacle. With this in mind, we can see why Wiccans, for instance, use the symbol to summon elemental spirits during a ritual. The spirit governs the elements, and therefore, by controlling the spirit, you control the elements. Aleister Crowley wrote that the pentagram symbolises the descent of spirit into matter, as does the number 777. Another name for this is the flaming sword. Another aspect of a pentagram is that a spell, or some specific intention, can be manifested into our physical reality. The spell, or intention, can be placed in the centre of the pentagram, and by focus of intent, fed the energy needed for it to have the desired effect. Other aspects to the pentagram can include the summoning of demons, i.e. the demon can be summoned within the pentacle, which is a pentagram with a surrounding circle, and it will not be able to escape unless the pentacle is broken. The pentagon is the centre of a pentagram, and is therefore the place where the pentagram energy is stored. And it is known that Washington DC is awash with occultic symbolism that is visible from above, such as the owl that holds Congress in its belly, pyramids, and the broken pentagram. Let us turn our attention to the most significant of all the occult emblems in DC, the Pentagon. On 9/11, something that the elites claim was Flight 77 made a hole in the Pentagon. Since the Pentagon is the centre of any pentagram where the pentagram energy is stored, it is safe to say that the making of a hole in the Pentagon would no doubt release this pentagram energy. Therefore, on 9/11, a certain form of energy was released. God Pan, whose number is 77, was invoked earlier that day in the classroom, and the Pentagon attack was no exception to the rule. In fact, it is clearly part of the same ritual. When the Pentagon was attacked, the energy of Pan was released. Crowley himself equated Pan with Baphomet, and it's easy to see why when Baphomet is always depicted inside a pentagram. So it can be said that Pan or Baphomet themselves are this pentagram energy, also represented by the letter A. We can see now that all the elements of Crowley's definition of Pan came into play on 9/11. P, the two pillars, A, the pentagram energy, and N, death. The two pillars came down, the seventh veil is dropped, the pentagram energy is released, and the reoccurring occult numbers correlate with the corresponding events of the day. Yet there is more. As if the ritual wasn't clear enough already, one more thing that is yet to be taken into account, and that thing is astrology. And after all, what would a ritual be without astrology? It is nothing new, and the ancient Egyptians would build monuments and pyramids based on certain constellations, i.e. the Giza pyramids are aligned with Orion's belt. Rituals are performed when certain planetary alignments and constellation alignments are taking place, and all this is due to their Hermetic tradition, as above, so below. This is a key element to the rituals of the elite and plays a massive part in the 9/11 scenario.